Howdy, Howlers! It's Sako Tumi, also known as Voit, and today we are launching Maggie's book. Whew, we have the wonderful Maggie! Hooray!
Yay! Thank you, Sako, for hosting. Hello, lovelies. I'm Mama Maggie Ward, and welcome to the book launch of, oh, come on, pull it up, Blue Butterflies, which is the third book in the Pagosa Stars series, following Tarnished Stars, and the first part of the Blue duology, which is called Blue Water.
I would like to say hello to the people in the chat.
Oh my goodness, everyone came in so early. Thank you so much. JC, Lauren, Barrett, Laura. Hello, Rachel. Hello, Cool Gamer. Hi, Sage. How is South Africa right now?
Holy crap.
Uh-oh. The kitties are helping, or is it your ghost?
It's my ghost.
Oh, be nice, Ghosty. I'll bake you some cookies. Hello, Eva. Thank you for coming.
Hi.
Oh,
guys.
thank you, Barrett. Yes. I love the way the covers for both Blue Water and Blue Butterflies look.
Yeah. Happy launch day. Woo. All right. I have a slew of questions. It says 101 questions, but we're not going to read every single one of them. Holy crap.
Hello, RC.
Hi, RC. Ghost attack. Yeah, ghost attack indeed. Let's start with your story, your author blurb.
Would you like my elevator bio pitch?
I would love it.
I'm Mama Maggie Ward. I'm an indie author who started writing as part of my stroke recovery because I lost most of my ability to use language. I write in a variety of genres, from contemporary stories that focus on realistic feeling characters dealing with their own internal issues as they navigate the difficulties of life, to fantasy and science fiction series where my characters face as much struggle within as they do in the world around them. My whole writer's journey is to show characters overcoming versus succumbing, because that is the way of the world. I want my readers to feel like they know my characters better than their neighbors, and that my characters could be their neighbors.
Hi, Debbie. How's it going, Debbie? All right.
Oh, Sage, I will trade you for cold. I am 100 degrees, 99 to 100 Fahrenheit is the expected temperature today.
Yep, here too. Yeah.
Did you see that it was the same temperature in London that it was in Las Vegas?
Wow. Global warming.
Also, London is having massive wildfires. So the song London Bridge is Burning Down, not a
My
metaphor. Not a
Not a
metaphor this
metaphor
week.
anymore. Holy cow. So, let's see. I've always been curious about the story of your synonym, of your of your um
To be better, not bitter.
no, your pen name.
Oh, it's really very simple. It's really, I mean, it's like crazy simple. Okay, so Magdalena, my great big long 9-letter name. I'm not fancy enough for 9 letters, so it's always just been Maggie with 1G. I'm just Maggie.
Mm-hmm.
And then everyone, literally my kids, all of their friends, everyone calls me Mama. And it has been this way for 2 decades. People, everyone around me calls me Mama. So being Mama Maggie was super simple. And then, of course, I picked my grandfather's last name as my writer pen name because I don't know what it was with his generation, but they just all birthed daughters. It was
Oh,
all the daughters, none of the sons. So it's kind of to carry on the Ward name. And my family is, I mean, the first European descendant in my family was an indentured servant who was kidnapped off the streets of London and dragged over here when he was like 12 or 13 years old.
oh wow.
So, most of my family is my mother's side of the family is Native American. And then
Mm-hmm.
we just gradually moved westward ahead of the European migration. And so, I mean, my family has been in Western Kansas since before it was a state.
Mm-hmm.
And my great grandfather, CW, used to actually run the freight wagons from the family wheat mill in Kansas to Trinidad and Pueblo. And we also ran cattle. My grandfather was actually a trail lead, and he would guide herds of cattle from Texas up to the railroad in Denver to be slaughtered.
Wow.
So I am from old school prairie people.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Wow.
so I'm very MM Ward, I'm very proud of being Mama Maggie Ward.
Let's see. What is the most difficult part of your writing process?
Editing, to be honest. I have a 15-step editing process because
Oh
brain
wow.
damage. I have brain damage from a stroke. And so it's like it's something I go over it again and again and again and in all these different methods, and actually have one step where I go through the books backwards by chapter to make sure that the things are lining up properly.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as like being the whole writer thing in general, the hardest thing to learn was formatting because
That's
the,
amazing that you do
the,
your own
the
formatting.
dangles and getting the alignment right and having to move things around. And that is so difficult. Formatters deserve every penny they charge. And I still haven't got the marketing thing figured out.
Marketing is tough. And thus why I'm, also helping you
I
here,
forget
I think.
about it. I forget I have a blog. How am I supposed to remember to market if I can't even remember I have a blog half the time?
What comes first for you, the plot or the characters?
Actually what comes first for me is usually a scene. I will get this scene
Oh.
idea, like the entire scene with like the characters nested in it. And then it's I like
And
I
then you flesh it out from
and then
there?
I flush out I'll write several more scenes and I'll start and then I go fleshing out my characters. And then after I get maybe a dozen, 20 scenes, like just sketched, not fully written, but just sketched out a few sentences per scene, I'll go back and do the plot. And this is actually a writing method I learned way back in the 90s when I was in college. Um, so it's called, the professor called it writing the tree. And it's where you make your leaves or your scenes first. and then your branches, which are your characters, and then your trunk, which is your plot. So you're kind of writing the tree backwards, but it works for me.
Awesome.
Thank you, Rachel.
Taking
And yes,
up
Eva, all the air conditioning, all the air conditioning.
all the air conditioning. Thank you so much, Rachel. You're so wonderful. Thank you so much. Here is a link to Maggie's Amazon. So you can see just how prolific this lady is. Like, she, like, epic amounts of prolificness.
Well,
Prolificy? I don't know.
having mild OCD kind of
Is
works.
it mild or is it severe? Because
Okay,
it seems quite severe.
let's just say that I need a tractor to haul my little bit around with. No, I have this finish the task mentality. I've always had it. I've always been very task oriented. And after my stroke, I had to relearn my coping mechanisms. And it doesn't always work, because if I'm working on a book, I'm really into it. It's like I will deep dive 12 to 16 hours a day into just, and that's all I do. Or I'm scribbling. If we're in the car, I've got notebooks and I'm like, I'm just, when my brain is too fried to be on the computer, I'm writing. And it's because, and it's like, I can't help it. And I have these panic moments because of the damage I had from my stroke. Means that about half the time when I sleep, I forget.
Oh,
everything.
no.
Everything. It's like everyone, remember that 50 First Dates movie?
Yeah.
Oh, it was so cute. It was so romantic. I am living that, and it is not fun.
It is not fun. So that's why you basically try to do it all in one
That's
sitting.
why when I'm on a street, I have to get it all out and leave very detailed notes for myself, because the next day I have to read everything that I wrote or it's gone. And I had a situation where my laptop crashed. And I lost 3 months of work, and I could not remember what I had written.
Yeah, I can't remember what I wrote either.
And it was just like, but if the nice thing about my editing process is, though, I figured when I worked Alzheimer's nursing back in the 90s and early 2000s, we figured out that your rote memory is still there. Even when your experiential memory is not working, that you can retrain yourself using your rote memory, which that is the things you learn in school. Those are the things you read or watch done. And so after my stroke, I began retraining myself using my rote memory by writing things down and reading it 4 or 5 times. And so that's how I remember my book plots and stuff now, is because I read it so many times that it stamps in.
Oh, that's really fascinating.
Hello, Andrea.
Hi, Andrea.
How's Chile today?
Write the thing I remember. I don't need to read what I wrote, but if I don't write it, I forget them. I am a very visual writer and a visual person, right? So when I think to spell a word or I hear a word, I actually see the word in my head. So it helps me a great deal to write things down. Like the notes sections of my bullet journals are full, because writing stuff down helps me remember it.
Oh, I have tons of notebooks that are just full of stuff.
Yeah.
That I have to keep them around me.
Okay, I need to go AFK for a moment, but I will.
Oh, while you're AFK, do you want me to read the excerpt from the book that we picked?
That's an excellent idea.
All right. Hello, lovelies. All righty. I am going to, you're at the beach. Oh, Andrea, that sounds so nice. That sounds so nice. I would love to be at the beach. I really would. We are just on the prairie where it is just burning hot, and we had really bad dry lightning thunderstorms yesterday, and it started like 8 wildfires. They got them all contained, but the lightning storm still started 8 wildfires, and so we're watching it today. All righty, let me pull up the document, and I will start reading to you from the first chapter of Blue Butterflies. When the Blue Water Resort's Convair 580 landed, the Pagosa Cliffs, Colorado teens rushed off the plane, toting their jackets. The luggage was unloaded into the back of a shuttle bus. Then they rode to the resort. The concierge greeted Kyle like an old friend, then gave everyone a tour of the top floor of the Blue Water Gulf View Resort. An early dinner buffet was laid out in one of the suites, which had been converted into a dining room of sorts. While the team and sponsors ate, Kyle was occupied with other things. Camille took the opportunity to call Tank. The sheriff, her oldest friend, answered on the first ring. "Hey, Wally, how's the heat and humidity?" "Not as bad as Houston." She leaned into the comforting sound of his voice. "How's the snow?" "It's let up for now." He shifted the phone to say, "I'll be right back." A female voice answered, but Camille couldn't quite make out the words. "I'm at the Ballard's house with the state CSI. We found something." Tank's voice took on the tone of someone somewhere between murderous rage and gut-wrenching regret. "It was worse than she told us. Katie says that sick bastard gets off on his victims fighting back, and Tiana fought hard." "God," Camille muttered with her hand over her mouth. She also said there was no way Tanya wouldn't have heard unless she was drugged. Lloyd says he is certain she knew. "Mom, I gotta go. I'll call you later." Camille hung up and turned to smile at Gracie. "Yes, sweetie?" Her daughter scowled at her, then asked, "I was going to ask you if you were going to come and eat." Her teeth worried her lip for a moment. Then Gracie whispered, "Did Uncle Tank find anything?" Camille hugged her. "Not yet, so let's just be supportive and kind to Tiana." "No problem, Mom," Gracie responded. Then, quietly, she squeezed her, giggling. "You should hurry. There's a chocolate fountain on the dessert table. I think Willow is going to stick her face in it." "Has she eaten anything else?" Camille asked as they walked down the hall. "Just a couple of toasted ham and raspberry jam sandwiches that she also stuck in the fountain." Gracie made a grumpy sound in her throat, fuming. "I swear, if she has a sugar crash and blows our practice dives tonight, I'll smother her in her sleep." As they entered the room that was converted into the dining area, they saw Willow, Jean, and Jorge trying to drink from the chocolate fountain with straws. But the chocolate was setting too fast, and they were just making a mess. "What are you doing?" Camille demanded in a cold voice as she walked toward them. "We have practice in 90 minutes. Camille gave her sister the side eye. "Narc." "Whatev." Rolling her eyes, Gracie smirked and pointed at her chin with a wiping motion. When Willow wiped the wrong side, Gracie said, "You missed." Wiping the other side of her chin with her middle finger, Willow flipped her off as she did. So Gracie stuck out her tongue. "Girls," Camille's voice carried the weight of authority as she glanced back at Willow and the two boys. "Well?" The three stared at her guiltily as she reached over and picked up a spoon and a soup bowl from a side table. Then she grinned at them. It's easier to use a spoon and bowl. She dipped the bowl under the stream, then made herself a plate of fruit and pretzels before getting another with a hot roasted ham sandwich and green salad. Sitting at a table alone, watching her team enjoying themselves, she dipped a chunk of pineapple in the warm chocolate sauce and savored it before she began eating her dinner. It was good to be the coach, but it was better to eat dessert first. So
That was amazing. Oh my gosh. I love your prose.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. And of course, you can already see in the scene, I'm all about the food. Foodie, foodie, foodie writing.
Foodie, food writing.
Food writing. And by the way, a ham and raspberry jam sandwich
Is amazing.
Dipped into a chocolate fountain is amazing.
Oh my God.
I've actually done that.
That's kind of amazing. Holy crap.
Enjoy food. And enjoy food. Food is meant to be enjoyed. And they're having such a stressful time right now because they're one of Camille's divers was spoiler if you haven't read Blue Water yet. One of her divers was attacked by her mother's weekend guest. And there is the very strong suspicion in the community that the mother may have sold her to this particular evil person. So Camille is going to be working very hard to get her diver through this trauma. And it's going to bring up a lot of the trauma that she suffered in college when she was attacked. So she is going to be working through all of this. Yes, anything in chocolate is amazing. Anything in chocolate is amazing.
It is.
Except asparagus.
Oh.
And avocado. Those two things.
I would figure avocado.
Avocado mixed into something is fine, but just dipped in chocolate, not so good.
Not so good. Okay, I gotcha. All right. When did you first call yourself a writer?
I always think of myself as a scribbler. Even now, I don't think of myself as a writer. I think of myself as a scribbler.
Oh, okay.
Because there is this frantic pace to my writing that I see other people and they're like la 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 writing, and I'm like I'm it's like this, I joke about having a hummingbird muse, but that's how my writing seems to come out. And it's just, I feel like I'm word vomiting like constantly. The first book in this series is Tarnished Stars, but you can actually skip that one and go back and read it later. Blue Water is the first one of the blue duology, Blue Water and Blue Butterflies. When I originally wrote it, it was one book, but it was like 180,000 words. And the fact that it's not fantasy and it's 180,000 words, people kind of scowled at that. So I split the book into the two parts. And so Blue Water is the first one, and then Blue Butterflies is the second one. And Blue Water, the story behind Blue Water is Coach Camille and her sister Wilhelmina are the weekend, literally the weekend before Wilhelmina's wedding. And Wilhelmina's brother or fiance, Kent, is taking his brothers to Vegas for a bachelor party. And it's just supposed to be cards and cigars and maybe a few shows. Well, it kind of turns out through a series of events that Wilhelmina is trying to send Camille a picture of a pregnancy test, and they discover 328 pictures from Kent's bachelor party. And it is so much more than cards and cigars.
Oh. Dun,
And
dun, dun.
dun, dun, dun. And basically, Wilhelmina freaks out, and Camilla's like, be calm, go home to the farm on Colorado. I will take care of the wedding council.
Oh.
And Camille is an Olympic diver at the University of Houston. That's where she trains and she's going to school.
Okay.
So Wilhelmina is supposed to go home, but instead she gets in a car accident and ends up on life support. And 2 days later, when the boys come back and things are not all as they seem with the bachelor party because they don't remember any of it. So there's kind of a blackmail angle and a family betrayal angle. And basically, Camille and Ken's brother Kyle have started dating. And he had just asked her to be his girlfriend. And then they went to the bachelor party. So she is like super salty. And they call her Hurricane Camille for a reason. And she basically, with the help of one of her friends, puts on a slideshow at the wedding reception to cancel the wedding and throws a hand grenade into Kent and Kyle's world. Not a real hand grenade, but an information hand grenade. And she ruins them. She ruins them by publicly displaying some of the pictures from the bachelor party they don't remember.
Oh, fun.
And she's like, I have 328 reasons showing me the love and devotion of the Hightower men. And then she lets them think from showing a news video that Mina died in the car accident. And that's when we find out that Mina is on life support at the Shriner Burn Center. And they are basically just trying to keep her alive long enough for her baby to be born.
Oof.
So Mina sitting and holding Mina's hand pretty much turns into this well of hatred over months while they're waiting for Willow to be born. And then Camille ends up having Gracie unexpectedly. And so now here she is, an Olympic diver. She just buried her sister. Oh. She's got basically 2 newborn babies, and the family is going to lose their ranch unless she manages to get back to another Olympics.
Wow.
And then the story jumps 15 years, and Camille is now training her daughter and her niece to be Olympic divers. And Kyle has, just by coincidence, bought land to develop a hot springs resort because that's his thing now. After High Tower construction was basically destroyed by Camille because she ruined their reputations, he rebuilt blue water resorts. And so that's all he does now is go and build these super high-end resorts all over the world. And he just happens to pick Pagosa County, where Camille's family lives. And so now she and Kyle have issues to work out, and she has to face the fact that because she never gave them a chance to tell their story, a lot of tragedy has happened in the High Towers. A lot of bad things, and none of it was their fault.
Dun, dun, dun.
So learning, the whole story is basically about trying to learn to forgive and cope with your own grief. Because as Camille says, when he asked her, did you ever have therapy for your grief for what happened to Wilhelmina? And she's like, if I could have spent an hour laying on someone's couch, I would have taken a nap.
Wow.
So, yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
The whole first book is just them trying to reconcile and deal with the fact that Camille basically stole 15 years of the girls' lives from Kyle because she was so mad.
Wow, that's pretty freaking mad.
Yeah. Send me your tears. I need them for my roses. We're having a drought.
Looking at your Amazon, like I said before, you are quite prolific. How many books have you written, and which one is your favorite?
Oh,
I know that's a tough
right
call.
now I am between the books, the shorts, and the anthologies. I'm over 30. Um, the favorite. I love Pagosa Cliffs. I love the whole Pagosa Cliffs world, the Pagosa Cliffs Anemones, and the Pagosa Stars series that run parallel in the Pagosa Cliffs world. I love those because literally I feel like I could just go drop in and that's like my town and my people. But I think my favorite would be the Elo series, the Ghost with Cats, Ghost with Ink, and Ghost with Hope.
Yeah, the Ghost series is really good. If you are interested in the Ghost series, let me bring that up. There is an audiobook version on
my YouTube channel. I have read all of the Ghost with Cats. Every chapter is read onto my YouTube channel on a playlist. All you have to do is hit play, and it will read through all of the chapters to you.
Oh, geez, I have to find it. There we go.
I also have the prequel to the Relic of Time and Shadows War called The Huntsman of Adamos.
Do you have a playlist? You do.
It is also there. That is the version from like 3 years ago. I really need to re-record it because the sound on that one is so bad. Because I was recording it on my little Kindle Mini and then transferring the audio files over. So yeah, the sound quality is really bad. I need to re-record it.
All right. So, Ghost with Cats, Chapter 1. I have posted it. Oh, it's not just Chapter 1. It is all 33 chapters.
It's the whole playlist.
It's the whole playlist for Ghost with Cats. And I strongly recommend giving it a read, giving it a listen while you're cleaning, while you're doing dishes, while you're doing art, or whatever you're doing, driving, etc.
There is a trigger warning with this one because Annie does go through while she's at her grandfather's cabin. She does go through and talk about the murders of her parents and her kidnapping.
Ooh.
So
trigger warnings indeed.
Yeah, and so there is some grief trigger warnings. And it was that was a very interesting world because through the course of the book, you find out that the Elo species is basically going extinct because there are no females being born. And if you've ever, I'm an anthropology minor. I have a minor degree in anthropology. I love it. But one of the things when you start looking in like biology and anthropological studies, that a population can support the loss of males, but it cannot support a dramatic loss of females.
Right.
And so in the Elo culture, the 12,000 remaining females basically are the highest ranked or tiered people in their society because they can do something that can't be done. They can produce offspring.
Right.
And the Elo have tried cloning, but the clones end up adulterated. So they've basically created a slave clone labor force, which is a very big problem for Annie, the main character, because she's like, but they're alive. And they're like, they're biomachines. And she's like, no, they're alive. And so this is a very big conflict that happens later in the series. Hello, Jules. Thank you so much for coming. So it was a very, very interesting world build to do. Because, what would happen in a society if one group held all of the power and even had the right to kill anyone of the other gender simply because they wanted to?
Wow.
And nothing would happen to them because there were so few of them.
So few of them, yeah.
So yeah, it's very interesting and kind of terrifying.
Wow. Yeah, kind of terrifying indeed. Jenna,
Hello.
the soul writer, is listening while she revises her story, which is super awesome. Thank you for dropping in, Jenna. We super love you.
Yes, I had so much fun at the AuthorTube Writers Conference.
Me too.
You had an amazing presentation on building writer websites.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And
I like whipped right through that content. Like, I strongly recommend giving it a rewatch and taking some notes, like for the average author who hasn't done their website yet or looking to redo it in a much simpler fashion. It's a lot of content in 20 minutes.
It is a lot to go through in 20 minutes, but you did an awesome job. It was great.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm hoping to do a couple more workshops here in the near future. So back to the subject at hand.
Back to the book.
What part of the book did you have the hardest time writing?
I think the hardest part that I had was actually writing the part where Tiana's mother gets what's coming to her. She ends up having to, it's one of those karma things, and she basically ends up having to go through what she had done to her daughter.
Uh-huh.
And that was very hard because I do not wish ill or that kind of harm on anyone. So that was kind of hard. But another really hard part was writing the parts where Camille was talking to her daughters and Kyle about what it was like when Wilhelmina was dying, because she never talked about that. She was just like, we kept, Willow knows that they kept her mother alive until she could be born, but she never talked about how traumatic that was for her. And that was, having to write the loss of a sibling was very hard because I went through that with my brother. He was killed. He was in a car accident caused through just a weird set of circumstances, but he ended up spending a week on life support while they arranged for his organs to be harvested.
Wow.
Because he had basically had his skull bashed open when the safety frame of the car broke and hit him.
Oh.
And it was just this weird convergence of circumstances that happened when he died. And it was just this, it was a really bad time for my whole family. And so writing Camille's loss like that was very hard for me.
I bet. Having to relive that so that you could write it.
Yeah. And
therapy in and of itself.
A lot of, I've had grief therapy. I've had like 2 decades of therapy in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I've spent more than a third of my life in therapy. And because, at 15, I understood something is wrong with the way I think, and something is really wrong with the way my parents think, and I don't want to turn into them.
Nice.
So I put, as a teenager, putting myself into therapy because I could see my grandparents and my aunts and uncles and cousins, and I was like, something's wrong. And that's why in my books, you'll see in the Anemones series, Red Velvet and Anemones, the wild anemone and some anemones are blue, which will release this fall, Millie goes to therapy regularly. Kyle in Blue Water and Blue Butterflies, he talks about how much therapy helped him. Eventually, Camille starts going to therapy. And I'm a very big advocate of this because if you see this in fiction, it kind of opens the door for you to be a little more accepting of it. And I'm from that generation that grew up in the 70s and 80s where only crazy people go to therapy. What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
And it's like, and therapy it wasn't a thing you did to get healthy mentally and spiritually.
Right.
Therapy was punishment, or therapy was something is wrong with you. And so I am a huge advocate for mental health and, for therapy, and therapists don't make enough. And
I agree.
And we don't have enough therapists, because to get my youngest into therapy, it took over a year for us to find a therapist with an opening.
Yeah.
And it's just,
on top of that, therapists can't go and see their own therapists.
Mm-hmm.
They have to go through avenues like BetterHelp, because BetterHelp is kind of under the table a little bit, and it doesn't get put on their record, because otherwise they are compromised and they cannot, help people.
Well, and here's another thing with therapy is, as parents, I'm going to tell you this. Okay, so I've had a ton of therapy. I've had so much therapy, and I've done everything I could to memorize the trauma in my children's life. But sometimes there are things that, as a parent, we can't help our child through. We cannot get them through that. And to get a professional to do that, there is no shame in that. You are not a failure as a parent if you're like looking at your child and you're like, I can't help them with this. Help me help them with this. Get them into therapy, and it's like, and don't ever say it's a phase or they'll grow out of it. No, don't. Get them help. If you don't know how to help them, find someone who can. And don't be worried about, like, my eldest has autism, and there were literally, she's been through several therapists, and there were 2 therapists that, they got the mama bear. They got the mama bear because I'm like, okay, first of all, you don't know how to deal with autism. And second of all, that is not what you tell an autistic person ever. So, right now, she has a lovely therapist, and she's been through art therapy and all different kinds of therapy. Mm-hmm. Find the kind that works for you. Not sitting and talking to someone doesn't always work for someone.
Right.
Sometimes art therapy works. Sometimes person-on-person therapy doesn't work, but virtual therapy does. Journal therapy, where you write everything in a journal, your therapist reads it and gets back to you. That is another form of valid therapy, and it does work. So I am a huge advocate for, if you're struggling, if you have been through a trauma, you don't have to hold it inside. You can get help. There are people to help you.
Yeah.
Hello, Heather.
Hi, Heather. Okay, so thank you so much. We love you too, Lauren. And there seems to be this misconception that we wrote this book together. We did not.
No, Sako is just hosting my launch stream because I was going to do it by myself. And she was so sweet yesterday. And she said, I'll do this with you. And I was like, you're my hero. Thank you.
Hooray!
I don't do many launch streams. I know I get on YouTube all the time, and I have Tis Tuesday streams and pop-up streams, and I will jump on with other people. And I'm like, that doesn't make me nervous. My palms are sweaty. This is making me nervous.
I'm sure it does. What part of the book was the most fun?
The interactions with Willow and Gracie and Tiana just being teenagers, because I have my daughters were close enough together that I ended up with 3 teenagers at once.
Oh my
2
God.
teenagers and a preteen, and then 3 teenagers at once. So having that kind of a play back and forth interaction between the teenagers. One of the really fun parts was Kyle's stalker shows up. Like at the very beginning, at the very beginning of this book, the end of the last book, Kyle's stalker has tracked him down to Pagosa's Cliffs and shows up on his plane that's supposed to take the kids back to Florida for the national diving competition. And Willow and Gracie and Tiana basically roast her. And she and Kyle have a lot of history. She's this like retired Greek supermodel. And she's just this very shallow drama queenie. My father is an ambassador and a diplomat, and you can't talk to me that way. And just, she misconstrues everything. And it's like, they make this point of talking about where Kyle's like, you've released so many fake news stories about us being back together or being engaged that Kyle's PR department keeps a denial ready. And he's like, just go back to whatever millionaire sugar daddy you were leeching off of. I don't want to be here. And the girls, oh my goodness, they call her the queen of hemorrhoid cream because she did an ad for that. And they're like, oh, and they call her breast implants floats. They call them her personal flotation devices.
Oh, that's terrible.
And these are teenagers, but they're also future Olympians. So they already have that confidence in their skills because they made it to nationals. And they're all getting a look from the Olympic Committee. And so they're as teenagers, they've already got that I have skills confidence thing. And they're like sharks circling a wounded tuna or something. Like yeah, they roasted her. And then there's several other just amusing scenes that come up. There's another really funny scene at the end of the book where they like abandon Kyle and Camille at this very remote campground to force them to make up because they're obsessed with babybrother.exe.
Woof.
And they're like, yeah, you're getting back together because we want a sibling.
Oh my God. Which characters do you relate to the most and why?
Probably
I know that's a tricky one, right?
In this book, I love Grandma Doreen. I love Grandma Doreen because she's just the one. She's the grounding force. She's old school farm. She's a World War II veteran. She's very impressive. She reminds me of my own grandmother, which is kind of what I took her off of. And she's kind of a combination of my grandmother and my great aunt Magdalena. So she's this very just strong, grounded woman. And I think that's the one that I relate to the most. As far as just family comes first, and I will work as hard as I have to work and do whatever I have to do for my family.
That's wonderful. Absolutely. If you are planning a sequel, can you share a tiny bit about your plans for it?
I actually already have 2 more books written in this world to come after this one.
Oh, wow.
And the next book is called Windswept Stars. Nice. And it's kind of the sequel to Tarnished Stars, which is the first one. Tarnished Stars is Sheriff Tank Tanner's story. And he starts off, you meet Tank Tanner, and he's got this beautiful wife and this adorable son and this perfect career as an NFL Pro Bowler. And it only takes one wrong friend and one wrong tackle to blow his world up.
Yep.
And then he's left going home to Pagosa Cliffs, trying to start over again, having lost everything he's ever loved. And he finds out that his thing is he can't put down that bottle or put away that bottle he picked up on the way down to rock bottom.
Oh my gosh.
That is his struggle, and he's got this he's got to be careful because he's got a one and done rule for his whiskeys. One and done, because if he starts the second, he's finishing that bottle and going on to the next one.
Yeah.
And down that rabbit hole boots first. And then we have Camille's story kind of sandwiched in there in the 2 blue books. And then we have Windswept Stars, which is Tank actually falling in love with someone who is more damaged than he is. Someone who is more struggling, and she has an opiate addiction. She is Master Chief, a pilot for the Coast Guard. She was a rescue pilot, and she was in a very bad crash and was very badly burned. And so she basically comes home to Pagosa Cliffs, and oh my goodness, she's got a freight train full of baggage. She hates almost everyone in the community, and she's a not nice person. I would use the B word, but she's not a female. So yeah, but that's her struggle is and Tank's trying to figure out how to save her from her depression and her opiate addiction. So Windswept Stars is next. And then afterwards is Stars Over Pagosa. And that is where the side character, Deputy Lloyd McConnell, who weaves back and forth between the stars and an enemy's world. He's in both sets of books as a side character. That's his own book. And he has become sheriff. Tank is retired. And he's trying to keep a new resident who's in witness protection safe from the hired hitman that are looking for her. And he's falling in love with her. And she's so convinced that she is going to be killed that she's not having any of it.
Hopefully.
And they end up having to not only keep her safe from hitmen hired by Big Pharma, because she's a whistleblower against Big Pharma, and she cost them billions. So now they're like, we don't care how much money it cost, just kill her.
Oh my gosh, spoiler alert.
She is hiding. This is the 5th place that they have been hidden.
Oh wow.
And it's just, she's just like, she's brilliant. She's amazing. Her daughter is snarky. I love her daughter. But yeah, the Stars Over Pagosa is Lloyd's story. And so he's trying to keep her safe and trying to track down a serial killer.
Wow.
So yeah, that's the next 2 books. Next year.
Barrett, Lori, we're definitely looking forward to those 2 books for sure. What was the best part of having your daughter as your editor?
I think the best part was like when I was writing this series, Sarah was my first round editor for it because she was in high school when I was doing it. And she would leave these comments. She would, like, we were writing it, we were putting it on Inkit, and she goes by TDM or the Dramatic Mara. And she would leave these comments at the end of the chapter, like, why are you doing this, Mama? Why do you hate us? Or like she hated Lloyd McConnell. She hated that. She just hated him. And she was like, she would have all these hashtag Lloyd dies alone, or Lloyd never gets love. You know, she'd put these, and she'd have these like hysterical comment breakdowns at the end of every chapter she edited.
Oh, it sounds so much fun.
It was so much fun. And my readers loved her.
Excellent. He has another great question. You've always been open about your struggles with the imposter monster.
Oh, yeah.
But you're the most prolific author I know. So what advice would you normally give someone else that you give yourself? Tricky, right?
The advice that I would give someone else is, and this is the thing that keeps me writing, is I know that I don't write for a broad audience. And it's a thing of if just a few people read my book, if it encourages them to get help, if it encourages them to reach out, if it makes them happy for a few days, then I've done my job.
Right.
I have done my job. One of my, I just got a new reader, Lynn, and she bumped me on my Ko-fi, was like, here's some tips for you, because here's a tip for every book of yours that I'm reading. And
Wow.
that made me feel so validated, because I was just like, I've really been struggling with the imp the last few months, just really struggling with it. And writing is so hard all around. And like, they say, they're like, only like 8% of authors make above $5,000 a year. Well, I don't even think that's right. I think it's like 2%.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I make enough between Amazon and Vella and my Ko-fi to buy my livestock feed for my very tiny farm once a month. That's all I make. I don't make enough to make a living. I don't even make enough to buy like Amazon ads or Facebook ads.
Right.
Because I don't make enough to pay the $5 a day.
Right.
And, it is a struggle for authors to, especially indie authors, to make anything. And recently, another Vanity Press author scam was brought to my attention. And there's a press that's going around, and they're like, we'll give you a $2,000, $5,000, $10,000 upfront royalty. Here's the thing. In the fine print of the contract, it says, if they don't make that money back in 2 years, you have to pay them back that money at 18% interest.
Yep.
So they are not buying your book. They are loaning you however much money at a ridiculously high interest rate.
Mm-hmm.
And they are preying on unsuspecting authors. And so this is this is my PSA for the day.
Mm-hmm.
Read the fine print. And if some press you've never heard of offers to buy and publish your book, and they offer you all this up front, you need to go over that contracting with a fine-tooth comb, because they are not buying your book. They are scamming you to get the rights to your book, and you will be paying them for them doing this stuff.
Yep. Well, you are such a bright light in this community. Knowing even you fight the imposter monster makes me not feel alone in that department.
It's horrible. And it's like, and of course you always hear it in the voice of the person that was most cruel to you in your life.
Usually.
So yeah, you're worthless. And and it is a struggle. And, I struggle with it on a daily basis.
I think I'm battling it a little bit myself, because people are coming to me being like, we want to talk our event. We want you to do a talk for AWC, for instance. Like they were like, we would like to do your websites for authors workshop. And these people seem to think that I know what I'm talking about. Like, and I've been doing it long enough.
You do, though. You have that intuitive information. Like you said, you've been doing it long enough. So you have that intuitive information that most of us don't have.
Mm-hmm. Right. And that's what I've had to come to terms with. Yeah.
And it's like I will sit and write while you're doing an art stream. I don't know if any of you know, Sako has a Twitch channel, and a lot of times on her Twitch channel, she will do these live art streams.
Yep.
And it's amazing. I love your horror art, but yeah, I love all your art, but I love your horror art, even though I'm not a horror fan.
Thank you.
But and that's one thing that authors, I think a lot of authors feel like, is they feel like, oh, I'm going to be a writer. I can only be creative if I'm writing.
Oh, no, that's
And
not
that
the
is
case
not
at
true at
all.
all. You and I both have that, do other things to be creative. You
Yeah.
write, I garden, and it's just, or I bake, or I'm always baking. I seem like I'm always baking. I'm surprised everyone in our tribe hasn't just gotten fat from watching my cooking videos.
Writing is not my primary gig.
Yeah, and it's having creative non-writing escapes is as important as any other form of self-care.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Yes, even me. I don't have to fight as hard with my imposter monster, because I have been reassured that I do know what I'm talking about. I do have the experience that I can share with people, and if I can help people with whatever that subject is, and I have the knowledge, then I am, obliged to share that knowledge.
I think,
And
yeah, you should, Heather. You should. You do lovely artwork.
yes,
But
yes,
I think the thing with imposter syndrome is that the people who, I mean, even Brandon Sanderson says he gets imposter syndrome.
yep,
The brand Sand. I mean, if he's getting imposter syndrome, then the rest of us should not feel bad about having it too, because I worry that like people who get past that point of having imposter syndrome, that there ends up being some kind of an arrogance there where they become overconfident.
overconfident.
And it's like, but like I said, my thing is I've had people message me and say, I've never told anyone about this. This happened to me, or I went through this, or I've decided to get therapy now. And that right there validates my entire writing complex. Everything that I write, all 2.4 million words, is completely validated by the fact that this person decided it's time to face their trauma and overcome.
That's
And
astounding.
that's what everything in all of my books is about. That's even in my fantasy books, even in my huge Relic of Time and Shadows War series, you have people that are trying to overcome things that are broken inside of them.
Wow.
And that journey is, to me, is the most important part of my storytelling. It is the most important thing, is to that struggle to overcome or succumb. And I do have characters that succumb. I do have characters who don't make it out of their struggle. And that's what happens in the world. There are people who don't make it past their struggle. But it's always encouraging to see someone that is trying.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm on medication for severe depression and anxiety. And if it wasn't for the help from my psychiatrist, I probably wouldn't be here.
Yeah. I can imagine what my life would be like if I hadn't gone into therapy. And because I was diagnosed as a teenager as a slow cycle bipolar,
Wow.
which it was a struggle because I would be on a manic for 3 or 4 months at a time. But and everyone's like, "Wow, you get so much done," and it's like, "Yeah, but no, it's going to suck in about 6 months because I'm going to be flatlined, and I'm going to be back to living my rules. Get up in the morning, breathe in and out all day long, do these things at these times, take your medicine."
Yeah.
And it, the The interesting thing is, though, is I have not had one of those, knock on wood, since my stroke.
Oh,
But I have severe brain damage.
right.
I have memory loss. I have constant vertigo. I have weird perceptual abnormalities. I feel like I'm walking on a boat most of the time.
Oh,
I
wow.
can't be around flashing lights. Loud, like thumping music that you can actually feel the music messes up my equilibrium. And I lose days and days and days because in my memory, it only seems like it's been 2 or 3 years since my stroke. It's been over 7 years.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, having disabilities, learning to cope with them, that's part of our struggle, but it's really just being able to accept that I can't make it alone. I can't do this alone. I need help with this. And
Oh.
and that's a really hard thing to do. I will grab that later. Heather and I are constantly planning on doing things together, and it's constantly falling through.
Oh, shit.
We've been trying to do some streams and stuff together for I think a year now. So yeah.
It'll happen. I'm sure it will.
Yes, exactly, Jenna. Overcome your
Exactly.
adversity.
And change your legacy. That changing your karma
Yeah.
is like kind of our goal in life, right? There's like karma is hereditary. And if you're like you are born with karma, and if that karma is sour, then it is your job as a human being to change that karma into good karma.
Yeah.
So, yeah, getting help, totally part of that good karma thing I was just talking about.
And that's one of the things with Camille is she just basically compartmentalizes everything and puts it away, and then she never unpacks it.
Right.
And so she just willpowers through. And she you see her break. In Blue Butterflies, she hits the point where she breaks.
Wow.
And fortunately she's got Tank and the girls and then Kyle too. But it's she's just a person who has pushed too long. And sadly, that happens to everyone. People who seem like they're the best functioning and best coping and nothing ever gets to them, yeah, they will have a break point eventually.
Yep.
And that is one of the things that you see in Blue Butterflies is you watch Camille break.
Wow. Again.
Yeah, it's true. Literally can't rest. Here's my lovely cover.
And the link to the book. Oh, that's the playlist. Hold on.
Oh.
I have it open. I swear I do. Delete. There is a link to the book on Amazon, so you can get a closer look at the cover, so you can read the blurb, and possibly even for a mere $3, you can buy your own copy. I can also only outrun my demons for so long. I do not outrun my demons, but they do tear me down every once in a while.
Yeah, and there is no, our society is so good at shaming people for working to make themselves better.
Yep.
And no, there should not be any of that. There should never be any of that.
The best part of my husband working for the state is Virginia takes care of its own. So like the healthcare like involves. I checked myself into the hospital a couple years ago, and they covered a week. They covered the whole week.
Yeah.
And I was only supposed to be there for a 72-hour hold.
Yeah.
And they decided I needed to be there longer.
Yeah, that's amazing. And sadly, that's the horrible thing about like we have my husband works for Home Depot, and we have their premium insurance, which unfortunately cost us several $100s every paycheck.
Ouch.
It is because it's for our whole family. It's full coverage for our whole family. So it is expensive. And we're just blessed that we can afford it, because healthcare, mental health care, even with that, we're still paying $35 for one child to see the therapist and $95 for the other one. And that's affordable mental health care. There's a lot of them that when I was trying to get her in, I was like, well, how much, if I pay cash for this instead of billing insurance, how much it would be? And I was being quoted $250 to $400 a 45-minute session, not even a whole hour.
No, not even a whole hour. For
45
minutes now.
And it's just, sadly, that mental health care is something we need. Thank you, Jenna. I make a lot of them, and my daughter, who has a media arts graphics degree, makes part of them. So
awesome.
So yeah, we literally do the covers in-house, as in our own house.
I'm willing to make them cinnamon rolls if it means I can get some peace.
Oh, does the Cheesecake Man want cinnamon rolls?
Can't afford to move. I gotcha. Yeah, teaching at a state-run school is super. Yeah, they take care of their own. They pay for Greg's therapy for the past few years, and they cover me too.
Look what Barrett says. The next one.
Ricky's insurance are golden handcuffs. We can't afford for him to leave.
It's the same with hubby. Is his insurance literally, no matter how many bad days he has, he knows he has to stay for that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tragic.
We have run 15 minutes into Jules's stream.
Oh no! we should all go and storm Jules.
We should raid the dawdling writer.
All right,
and her 4-time-a-week productivity streams.
Yeah. The dawdling. Let me link her first.
Okay. Do you want me to put up my outro video?
Yes, please.
Okay. Let me say goodbye to everyone. I am Mama Maggie Ward. Thank you very much, Sako Tumi, also known as Cass Voit. You can find her on YouTube and on Twitter and on Twitch. She has so many things that she's doing. It is so amazing, and I love her so much. My very, very witchy friend who also belly dances. And I am Mama Maggie Ward, independent author and stroke survivor. And I believe in when life offers you trauma, you have a choice. You can become bitter or you can be better. And